Hello, everyone. Nice to be with you this morning. My name is Delphine. I'm the Ambassador for Women's Rights of the French Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Secretary General for the Generation Equality Forum. And this is
Céline Mas, very happy to be with you this morning, and I'm the President of UN Women France.
So today, this morning, we're going to talk about the Generation Equality Forum. We're going to try together to pitch it to you in 13 minutes. So we're going to have a short presentation, and then we're going to open to questions and answer. So what is the Generation Equality Forum? Basically, it is the most important, the largest, the most historical gathering for women's rights and gender equality of the past 25 years. For those who are interested in gender equality, you might recall that the last international conference for women happened 25 years ago in 1995 in Beijing. And it's a bit of a scandal, but since then we haven't had a UN-led World Women's Conference, unlike, for instance, the COP that we have every year for environment. So UN Women, together with the governments of France and Mexico, decided to come together and to organize this historical gathering for women's rights. It is in many, many ways historical and unique in nature. It will take place next year, as you can see on the image, both in Mexico in March 2021 and then in Paris in June 2021. And why is it different from any other international gatherings? Because it is the first time that we're bringing together not only the governments, not only the UN agencies, but also the civil society organizations, the private sector organizations, the philanthropic foundations, the syndicates, and so and so. So it's really in nature a multi-stakeholder initiative, a multi-stakeholder adventure, because even in the governance of the forum, we decided to be very inclusive and democratic and to have civil society represented. The forum itself will take place over a number of days. It will be a hybrid forum of physical and virtual meetings. It covers the entire spectrum of women's rights and gender equality, but it will be focusing on 6 main areas, and those are gender-based violence, economic justice and rights, sexual and reproductive rights and health, women in gender and climate, women in innovation and technology, and feminist movement. And so there will be also another mechanism dedicated to women, peace and security, for which we're celebrating the 20th anniversary this year. So it will be a very, very important milestone in the history of women's rights. We do hope to have the participation and contribution of many NGOs and CSOs from around the world. We have already governments from every corner of the globe who is involved. We have governments from Europe, from North America, from Latin America, from Africa, from Middle East, from Asia, South Asia, and so on. We also have private sector companies coming on board because they also play an important role in gender equality. So this is what will be happening. And the action coalitions, the 6 groups of governments and CSOs and agencies that we have gathered together will do something very concrete in Paris in June 2021. And that's the second distinctive feature of the forum, is that there will be no declaration, no final resolution, no text, because we have enough words. We don't have enough actions. So we decided to really focus on concrete implementation, concrete action. And these 6 action coalitions, they will be presenting and launching concrete roadmaps for action over a time span of 5 years. They will need to decide to determine collective action, multilateral actions that will aim to improve women's rights in each of the 6 areas. So we do hope to have a maximum number of attendance, either physical or virtual, in Paris and in Mexico next year. And I now give the floor to my friend Céline.
Thank you very much, Delphine, for this presentation. Well, I would just underline a few points about the forum that I think are very important for us. First, it's highly inclusive. We want this forum, as Delphine underlined, to be a partnership between civil society and all organizations, states, corporations, and beyond. And this is very important because today we are convinced that we will only build women equality, gender equality, by multilateralism, by alliances, by people coming together, and you're here this morning with us to build this new deal that we really need. So this is very important, the inclusion of the forum. The second point is the innovation. It's the first time since 25 years, since Beijing, when Hillary Clinton had this great claim about women's rights and human rights, that we do gather at this level with so many people around the table to advance, to accelerate on gender equality. And this is highly innovative. We will also innovate in the way we build the forum. Before the forum, a lot of events will be organized and have already been organized. Creativity. We also want the forum to be the symbol of a creative and 21st century feminism. Feminism is not an old, is not only an old fight, it's an old fight because things are not moving enough and things are not fast enough. We want to improve greatly and fastly. It's also an innovative fight, the fight for justice, the fight for bringing people together in our century to bring a better world. So this is very important. And the second point, and Delphine also enhanced it, is impact. We are willing to hear a declaration, we are willing to hear promises, but we want impact. We want results, we want to measure them, to monitor them. And those actions coalition are in a way acceleration devices to make sure that in the coming years and not in 200 years, we really move forward with substantial results on gender equality. So those are very important points. And maybe a last one, there is UN Women France that is organizing before the forum a festival called Generation Equality Voices. And the idea is to labelize and to enhance initiatives from civil society. It will be in April and in May, and we have done it already this year, to prove and to show and to also celebrate the fact that civil society is fully committed in this march towards gender equality.
So I see there are some questions coming in. There's a question about some of the NGOs and private companies that are already involved in the process. So all of the information is online. We do have actually so many that I cannot name all of them, but to give you a few examples, we have such major international NGOs such as the International Planned Parenthood Federation, we have the International Women's Health Coalition, we have Outright for the LGBTQI community, we have the European Women's Lobby, we have many also regional civil society organizations, especially from Latin America, which I will not say because my Spanish is really bad. We have also regional African networks such as Femnet. We have French and also based in Africa, such as Equipop, Équilibre and Population. And we have also about 25 to 30 civil society organizations represented in the governance body of the forum in what we call the Civil Society Advisory Group. So that's just a few examples, but I encourage you to go to the UN Women website on the Generation Equality Forum. There's a full list of all NGOs and private companies. As far as companies are concerned, we don't have the final selection yet, but I can tell you that major international and also French companies that have really good track records when it comes to gender equality have already signaled their interest in being involved. I'm thinking of, for instance, L'Oréal, of Chanel, BNP, NG, or in the US of Procter & Gamble, and other major companies that have expressed interest in joining the Actions Coalitions. There's another question that I will take, and maybe you can take the third one, about how should the roadmap look in the future? Well, the roadmap is what it is. It's what it's called a roadmap. It's supposed to lay out very precisely what are the objectives to be reached in 5 years, so in 2026 from 2021, how these objectives are going to be reached, who are going to be the partners and the stakeholders responsible for the success of these actions, where is the funding going to come from, and most importantly, what is the accountability mechanism in order to make sure that progress is being made every year and that we reach the collective goals that we set ourselves. So we're going to be every year be monitoring the progress that has been made in the achievement of these goals. And in 5 years down the road, we're going to all meet again and make sure that we have reached our objectives.
Yes, a very important question about, do we adapt our feminist approaches to the different social cultures of the country in which we work for? I mean, feminism is about this continuum of desire for justice, and everywhere in the world, there is no country that has achieved gender equality. So there is a common line and a big idea between all types of action in the feminism movement. But of course, it doesn't mean that we don't take into account cultural specificities. And the forum actually itself is the symbol and the expression of multicultural events, because we will gather and welcome people from all around the world that will take part and that will raise their voices. So it's a combination, a hybrid movement between this line and
and then there's another question about have we developed any specific initiatives to address the growing inequalities faced by women in times of pandemic? And it's very true, actually. The pandemic has even disrupted the generation equality, because it was supposed to take place this year in Mexico and in Paris, so we have postponed it to next year. And of course, we have integrated this parameter because, as you might know, the pandemic has exacerbated and aggravated the gender inequalities and the sufferings of women. For instance, UNESCO says that 11 million girls might never return to school, or that the UN says that over 200 million more women will fall under the poverty level, or their UNFPA says that will be over 7 additional million unwanted pregnancies in the world. So of course, we have given a mandate to the action coalitions to integrate the impact of the pandemic into the actions that they will be designing. But actually, all of the action coalitions are concerned. The one about gender-based violence, we have seen a surge in 30% in reports of domestic violence. The one about sexual and reproductive health and rights, as I was saying, there will be more unintended pregnancies and more unsafe abortions. The one about economic justice and rights, we have seen how women are more vulnerable to the crisis. More of them have been laid off, more of them have lost their jobs, more of them have quit their jobs in order to take care of their children, more of them were working in the informal sector and have also lost their jobs. So we have integrated that into the roadmap of the action coalitions and the forum itself. Oh yeah, that's
on the
you.
voices. Maybe a point also on what Delphine just underlined. It's very important. Of course, this pandemic is not gender neutral. We know that, and data already shows it. UN Women has developed a gender tracker those days. It's a website where you can find data and to know what countries implement to fight against the consequences of the pandemic on women and girls. And we have also a program dedicated to that. The Voices Festival, the Voices Festival, the idea is what? Is to be at the service of civil society organizations, to be their echo chamber, to encourage any initiative they want to take about the forum, about gender equality on the march to the forum. And the idea is to select them. It's a very short selection process. I will show you just 2 pages. Then we have a jury, and then we have selected nearly 100 last year, and we give them visibility. We partner together through events, dedicated events and all that. And the feedback that we had from the first edition were very positive. I'd like to say thank you to everybody for that. So we will do quite the same next year.
Just maybe to give you another also point about the format of the forum, because there might be questions about how we will organize this, because there's so much uncertainty and we are very looking at what's happened with the Paris Peace Forum. So we do hope to maintain a physical meeting both in Mexico and in Paris, obviously in downsized format with fewer participants, depending on what are the health regulations at that time. But we will expand and utilize all the possibilities and options of the virtual meetings, such as this one. And we hope to have the same kind of roundtables and pitch and tech talks and conferences and workshops online, so that a maximum number of people could participate from all around the world. We'll have obviously translation and so on. I see there's another question. What would you want to say to women willing to be more socially active across the globe in promoting their rights? Are there any support mechanisms that you offer? Well, there are many support mechanisms, and there are many local grassroots feminist organizations that we're working with, and also many of them that UN Women as such is supporting in the framework of the forum, but also just more generally. There are also many feminist grassroots organizations that the French government is supporting. If you want to be more socially active in promoting the rights, I would recommend to, engaged, commit to a local grassroots feminist organizations, to the UN Women local office if there's one in your country, or also UNFPA, UNICEF, depending on what's your angle and what's your priority. In terms of supporting the participation of civil society organizations to the forum, there's a number of grants that have been developed by some of our partners from the philanthropic North American foundations in order to help the local feminist organizations participate in the virtual consultation and governance of the forum.
Yes, we see a question about the key partnerships for helping UN Women carry day-to-day agenda. Well, I mean, as you know, the philosophy of the UN is multilateralism. We work together. We need to be all together around the table. So we work with corporations, we work with states, we work with civil society organizations because we need them on the ground to be connected to reality. This is very important. Our programs are super pragmatic. We want results on the ground in the 90 other countries where we operate. So it's, in a way, it's very open. And for each topic, for each result we want to achieve, we build an ad hoc partnership with all those entities that I described. And this is in our culture, in our everyday way of operating.
And if I could add on Celine's words, I think the specificity of the forum, but it's also what UN Women is already doing, is not being selective in the kind of organization that you're working with. As I said before, 25 years ago, only governments and UN agencies were legitimate actors and stakeholders for working in gender equality at that level, together with civil society. But today we see there are many partnerships to be established with other kinds of organizations. I'm thinking of course, the private sector, of course, the philanthropic sector. I'm thinking of parliaments. I'm thinking of many kind of civil society organizations that might not be feminist, or for which their main objective may not be to fight for gender equality. But I'm thinking, for instance, of lawyers associations. There are many lawyers networks and lawyers associations all around the globe that have been in contact with us and want to be promoting women's rights defenders and defending women lawyers who might be in prison or at risk, or just defending women's rights, and who are coming to us.
Yes, and I want to insist on that. It boils down to what we said before. There is no diploma in gender equality. There is no authorization. The authorization is in yourself, and we need each of you to involve at your level. And this is very important. Believe that you can be helpful, because you are, concretely.
Yeah. What else can we say about the forum? So we do hope that everybody joins the Generation Equality campaign and the forum. Again, there will be many ways to participate in France, in Mexico, in New York, but also across the globe. We have put in place a number of curated conversations and public conversations that are open to civil society individuals or organizations that might be interested in participating and contributing to the process of the forum. It's always a very inclusive process where we'd like to hear more from not just experts of gender equality, but also those who just think that this is a very important cause to defend and to promote, and who would like to be more involved. So there's another question that says, your personal successes as women, well, saying that we're successful, now working in high positions might inspire others. What would you consider to be the key challenges related to gender you have had to face during your career? So many, Céline, so many. Well, I think even in the most advanced and the most gender equal countries, such as France or the Nordic countries, we always have to face definitely challenges related to gender. Just to give a few examples, that when you come into the room and you're a woman and you're young, you're always mistaken for the intern, or your voice is not being listened to. And this happens to me still very quite often, especially in big organizations, and especially at a high level. So I would say that I haven't really encountered obvious and official discrimination, thankfully, maybe, because this is being punished by law in France. But there are microaggressions almost every day that are related to your gender. And one advice that I would give maybe to young women and women of all age everywhere is to speak up. Sometimes it's very intimidating to speak up, but when you see a discrimination, when you see a gender bias, when you see a microaggression, try to speak up as much as possible. You don't have to be aggressive. It could be humorous. It could be, on the mode of humor. But when you see something, say something, as is in New York, and just point out that here you've been mistaken for an intern just because you're young and women, or if somebody cuts you when you're speaking, then just reclaim your voice.
Yes, thank you for this question. Nobody is entitled to become this or this in life. Life is a journey, and we're all working hard to get there. I think what Delphine said is fundamental. It's one of my principles is never let something that makes you feel uncomfortable, that you judge unjust, don't let it go. You can say it very calmly, you're not obliged, to be in a fight immediately, but just don't let it go, because every time we let it go, we continue to reproduce a situation that we don't want to be. So this is very important. And another thing is dream big. I think that myself, I was not at all, when I was a little girl, I never thought I would be the president of UN Women. I had the pleasure to be with Delphine today, etc. But I never let my spirit being stopped from what I could think reality is. There is a big part of this that is also in your capacity to dream and to project yourself. It's never going to be easy. It's never easy. There are a lot of work, there are a lot of breaks, etc. But if you still keep track on your key objective, you will make it. And find alliances, find people around you, mentors, teachers, other women that inspires you, that will help you on the way to move forward. This is what I would suggest.
And I would add, to link it back to the Generation Equality Forum, this is also what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to put in forward actions and projects and mechanisms that are going to be, funding very important projects on the ground, but also with the campaign and with the visibility of this forum, we're trying to transform gender norms. We're trying to make people understand that first, this is not just about women. The role of men is also very important in the forum. So we need to engage more men and boys in transforming gender norms. That this starts at the very early age of not having perceptions of gender inequalities, and this is the transformation of gender norms is extremely important. On the support of course role models, but also how you say things, what you say to young girls especially, but also young boys, is very important. There's another question which is kind of broad, which says, what would achieving gender equality mean for society? How would you envision our common future to be if such result was achieved? Well, first I have to observe that according to the World Economic Forum of Davos, that might be 200 years before we reach full and concrete gender equality. 200 years. That's a period that I'm not waiting I don't want to wait. So how would society look like? It's hard, because we've lived with gender inequality. It's very hard to imagine what would society look like. But for me, the first way that it would translate is that a young girl being born in a gender equal world would never, never, ever question herself about her capacities, about her abilities, about her possibilities, about her options. She would never integrate what we all integrate from a very young age, is that some things are impossible, some things are not for me, some things are out of my reach. That would be, for me, a major difference when new girls are coming to this world.
Yes, and this is very important. And also, of course, we would fight better against climate change and all that, because we know that if gender equality was achieved, we would be in better position to face all the challenges that we have to face today. And also it would create economical growth. It's proven, no? Concretely. So this is a real stake for everybody, and we need to do that. We do need to do that for the planet.
I think the other question might be for you and Wim.
Yes, do you work with local association organizations in terms of training or sharing your expertise all the time? Like, for example, we have a program on political leadership, and what we do is that we train women to be political leaders. We give them tips, we give them advices with experts. So yes, it's really part of the way we operate on the ground always.
Yeah, and there's also some programs funded by the French government, and especially by the Agence Française de Développement, so the French Development Agency, which is very involved in the Paris Peace Forum, that are meant also to train and share expertise with women on the ground, especially in Africa and in West Africa. So there are so many programs on access to education, access to capacity building, access to health services, and access also to entrepreneurship, which are being developed all over the world through funding from the French government. What are the challenges that we are facing to keep up with the forum in the face of the pandemic? For example, gathering people from around the world. Well, we've managed to gather together, the two of us today. Of course, the postponement of the forum was a big blow in the face for us. We had all been waiting for a year, planning for this forum to be taking place in July, sorry, of this year in Paris. But I think we have to adapt and adjust like everybody else. It's also somehow an opportunity to plan deeper the organization of the forum, to take more time to design the roadmaps of the action coalitions, to strike and forge new partnerships with new stakeholders that we didn't have time to reach out before. In terms of logistics, obviously, it's a challenge. We had planned and announced to host 8,000 participants in Paris this year. This sounds almost impossible, even for next year, to be hosting 8,000 participants from all around the world. Well, yes, there's a question about events that are going to take place. So there will be a physical event in June 2021 in Paris. We will see what is the maximum capacity to host in one single place. We do hope not to be in lockdown at that time of the year. So there will be physical events in Paris. There will be virtual events that are going to take place all over the world. There will be satellite sessions organized by other countries that will be broadcasted live into the Paris Forum. I hope there will be other events also throughout France and other countries, especially in Mexico.
Yes, and whatever the material conditions may be, let's be at this rendezvous because it's historical. Let's take this challenge and be together.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. Very happy to answer your questions. You can find information on UN Women website, Generation Equality Forum, all the list of the champions of the action coalitions, and all of the important dates.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, thank you.